Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 1, Week 4 of Language Arts. We're going to get started with our vocabulary before we jump into the other sections. You have 8 vocabulary words, just like every week, and your first word is the word excited. When I'm excited, I'm happy and energetic about something that's going to happen. So think about how you feel and how you act when you're excited, or how someone looks when they're excited. They're very happy. They're kind of jumpy and bouncy. They've got a lot of energy. They can't wait for whatever it is, because excitement is a good feeling. So it's a feeling you get when you're really happy about something good that's going to happen. Your next word is the word safe. When I am safe, I'm away from danger or anything that can harm me. So when you're safe, you are in a place where you're not going to get hurt. You're around people that care about you. You're not worried or scared. You feel safe. Now, your next word is wild. So the wild is a place in nature where animals live on their own. It's not where we put them. It's where they usually live. So they live out in the wild, in their natural habitats. Your fourth word is the word allowed. When you are allowed to do something, that means you have permission to do it. So you are allowed to have dessert after your dinner because your mom gave you permission to have your dessert after your dinner. Or you may be allowed to go to your friend's house if you finish all of your chores. Your fifth word is the word roams. When something roams, it moves around freely. So if you think about an animal out in its natural habitat, where it goes where it wants and it comes back when it wants, it is roaming around, or it roams around freely. If you have like a farm and you have a big pasture, a big area where the animals can walk around or roam around freely, they're not being put in a small area. They have a nice big area to walk around and live. Your next word is the word wandered. When you wander, it means you're walking away without a plan, where you're just kind of walking around. You're not going to a specific place. So during a storm, the animals wandered around looking for shelter. So you don't have an exact spot that you're going for or an exact thing that you're trying to do always. You're just kind of walking around. Now, when you care for something, you're meeting that thing's needs. So if we're caring for a pet, that means we're making sure that pet gets food and water and shelter. If you're caring for a house plant, you're making sure to water it regularly and to put it near sunlight so that it gets the sunlight it needs to make its food. So when you're caring for something, you're taking care of it, or you're meeting the needs that that thing has. Your last word is the word needs. So a person or animal's needs are the things that they need to have. So these are the must-have things. You must have food. You must have water. You must have shelter to protect you. These are not things that you want, like maybe you want a new toy or you want a new pair of shoes. Needs are things that you can't live without. Now, this week's spelling words focus on both the long and the short A. And you do have some review words like we do every week. So your words this week are bag, cap, ham, bake, ate, mad, back, cape, made, rake, still, belt, into, done, and your. So you'll see all of your words that make the long A sound are words that have a silent E at the end of them. And the words that have a short A sound end with a consonant. So bag says B, A, G, but bake says B, A, K. You're saying the name of that letter. A long vowel is a long vowel when it makes you say its name. So now your next part of our notes, we're going to talk about your grammar. And we've been talking about subjects and predicates and sentences. So remember, every sentence needs to have a subject and a predicate. The subject tells you who or what the sentence is about. So if I say Andy rides his bike, who is the person that's riding their bike? Who is the subject of our sentence? We know it's Andy. If I say Salma built a tower, where I have to ask myself, who built the tower? My answer is Salma. So Salma is the subject of my sentence. Now the predicate tells me what that subject is or does, and it's usually at the end of the sentence. So if I say Andy rides his bike, I need to ask myself, what did Andy do? I know that Andy rides his bike. So rides his bike is going to be my predicate here. Same thing for our other sentence, Salma built a tower. What did Salma do? She built a tower. So a predicate tells you what the subject is or does. So if I wrote Salma is a great builder would have been my predicate because it tells me what she is or what she does. In many sentences, the word order in your sentence is going to be the subject, then the predicate, and then any other words that we're adding onto it. So if I say Abdurrahman painted a beautiful picture, our predicate is usually our verb. It's the action word. It's what your subject is doing. So Abdurrahman is my subject, painted is what he did, and a beautiful picture are the other words. So this is my complete predicate, painted a beautiful picture. Now you can correct an incomplete sentence. So if you have an incomplete sentence or a sentence fragment, you can correct it by adding a predicate. Sometimes it's missing a subject and sometimes it's missing a predicate. So if I say, if my subjects over here are Maya, the children, my puppy, and cats, those by themselves are incomplete. Maya did what? The children did what? The puppy or the cat are what? So I can say Maya likes to read in the park. So there's my subject and there's my predicate. The children are playing in the yard. So the children, that's who I'm talking about. What they're doing is they are playing in the yard. The puppy or my puppy plays with his chewy toy all day. And cats have soft fur and purr a lot. So my subject, who or what my sentence is about, what they are or what they do is my predicate. I did attach 2 videos for you to help you with more explanations on subjects and predicates and incomplete and complete sentences. I'm not going to play those for you here. You can definitely play them on your own. I would like for you to watch them so you get a better understanding of all of this. Now, the next part of your grammar notes is going to focus on sequence words. So when we're thinking about sequence, we're talking about things happening in order, in time order. So sequence words tell us the order that something is happening, and they always use a comma after specific sequence words. So if we have the words first, next, last, and finally, those are all sequence words that we put a comma after. So I say first, comma, we will go to the park. Next, comma, we will take turns riding on the swings. Finally, comma, we will play tag before we go home. Now we do have another sequence word, which is the word then. We do not use a comma after the word then. So if I say, first we go to the beach, then we'll eat dinner at my cousin's house. So first, comma, we will go to the beach, then we will eat dinner at my cousin's house with no comma. Now, as you're working through your homework packet for the week, you're going to also come in, you're also going to see different things about root words and endings. So if I have the word going, go is my root word, right? That's the smallest part of the word that's still a word. And then the ing, the ing, is going to be the ending that I added to it. So if I say cleaned or cleaning, my base word or my root word is clean, right? That's the simplest form. And then the ing or the ed that I add to the end of it are those extra endings. Another thing you're going to see that we're going to go over once we get into our stories is our text features, which you run into most weeks in your homework packet. And we have several text features that we've talked about already that include headings. And we have a lot of those things here. We'll have bold-faced words where you see words that are written darker than other words. You'll have a title or a heading that tells you what's going on in that page. You may have a diagram or a picture that gives you more of a visual understanding of what you're looking at. So let's go ahead and jump into your weekly stories. Now, we are Unit 1, Week 4. We're going to go in and we're going to see our new story for the week that is titled Lola and Tiva, An Unlikely Friendship.
Genre, narrative nonfiction. Lola and Tiva, An Unlikely Friendship. Told by Juliana, Isabella, and Craig Hatkoff. Photos by Peter Grieste. Essential question. How do we care for animals? Read about a girl who cares for her pet rhino. There is a very special place in Kenya, Africa, called the Liwa Wildlife Conservancy. Liwa is a large place where animals roam free and people called rangers watch over them. A young girl named Tiva lived there with her family. Her father worked for Liwa. Everyone at Liwa knew that Tiva had always wanted a puppy, but puppies were not allowed. Instead, the people at Liwa found Tiva a different kind of friend, a young black rhino named Lola. Lola seemed to work just as well as a puppy for Tiva. Lola and Tiva became the best of friends. This is their true story. Lola was born at Liwa to a mother that was blind. For a couple of days, Lola drank her mother's milk for food and stayed close by. But when she was strong enough to walk, Lola wandered off to another area of Liwa. Her mother could not see Lola walking away. Without her mother to feed and protect her, Lola was in danger. Animals roam free at Liwa. Lola needed food and could become a meal for a lion or another hungry animal. She could not find her mother, and her blind mother could not find her. The rangers who worked at Liwa searched for Lola. When they found her, they brought her to a safe place in Liwa that was near Tiva's house. There, Lola would be out of danger. Tiva was excited when Lola arrived. She wanted to take care of Lola. Like any baby, Lola needed many things. Most of all, Lola was hungry and needed milk. Tiva learned to feed Lola. Lola drank a bottle 5 times a day. Each time, she drank over a gallon. Tiva loved Lola. Lola was a lot like a big puppy. She tried to climb things. She licked things. She smelled things. Lola begged at the dinner table. Stop and check. Ask and answer questions. How was Lola like a big puppy? Go back to the text to find the answer. Like most pets, Lola never posed when Tiva tried to take pictures. She wanted to nap. But Lola did like for Tiva to pet her between the ears. Of course, rhinos are not really like dogs. They don't eat dog food. When Lola was about 5 months old, she started to eat like a real rhino. She ate shrubs, twigs, and leaves. Her upper lip is shaped like a hook and can grab onto food. Lola could wrap her hook around sticks and leaves, but she still loved to drink her milk too. Rhinos in the wild are usually shy. They often run away if they see or smell people. Lola was too young to be afraid of people. Tiva and the rangers became her family. A baby rhino is called a calf. A calf usually stays with its mother for 2 years. The mother watches over her calf. Lola needed someone to look after her. Tiva became Lola's special friend. Like a pet, Lola needed special care. Tiva helped pick bugs off Lola's body. The bugs could make Lola sick. In the wild, birds eat the bugs off a rhino's skin. But birds would not do that for Lola. There were too many people around. Lola also needed to take baths, mud baths. When a rhino rolls in the mud, it is called wallowing. It is an important part of being a rhino. The mud protects the rhino's skin from the sun, like sunscreen. Once the mud dries, it also keeps bugs from biting. Tiva made sure Lola knew how to wallow. It isn't as easy as it looks. It takes a lot of practice. A rhino does not have to wash the mud off. A little girl does. Lola and Tiva shared their days together. Lola learned about being a rhinoceros. Tiva learned about being a friend. It was a lot of fun, and it wore them out. Now Lola is almost full grown. She is too big to play with Tiva like she used to. But the time they spent together will always be special. After all, a little girl never forgets her first best friend. Stop and check. Ask and answer questions. How have Lola and Tiva changed? Go back to the text to find the answer.
Okay, so that takes us to the end of our first story. And we have another short story right here after it that also uses your vocabulary words. So if you just flip the page in your book, you'll get to the next story.
Animal needs. Anne is in charge of an animal shelter. We asked her questions about how people care for animals there. In this interview, the words after Q are the questions we asked. The words after A are Anne's answers. Q. What is an animal shelter? A. An animal shelter is a place for animals that need an owner to take care of them. Q. What kinds of animals live at the shelter? A. We have dogs, cats, and rabbits. Anne is the owner of our animal friends. Q. How do you make sure all the animals have their needs met? A. It isn't easy. All animals need food, water, air, and shelter. Each animal has different needs. Some animals, such as dogs, like to eat meat. Other animals, such as rabbits, eat plants. Dogs need exercise. I take them for walks on a leash. If I did that with one of our cats, the cat would not be happy. I would not be giving it the care it needs. Q. Who else works at the shelter? A. We have an animal doctor, a veterinarian. He makes sure the animals are healthy. A puppy's needs are different from a dog's needs. To grow, the puppy needs to eat more times during the day.
Okay, so that takes us to the end of our stories in our anthology. We're going to go into our reading and writing workshop and again hop into Unit 1, Week 4. And we're going to be reading about caring for animals in this section as well. Now we have our vocabulary words here that you can stop and read. They do offer you a few more example sentences for how to use each word correctly.
Genre, narrative nonfiction. Taking care of Pepper. Essential question. How do we care for animals? Read about, have you ever been on a farm? Jack lives on a farm. He has a horse named Pepper. Jack helps take care of Pepper. Looking after a horse is a big job. A horse has many needs. There are a lot of things a horse must have to live. Every morning, Jack wakes up at 5 o'clock a.m. He and his father go to Pepper's stall. The stall keeps Pepper safe from bad weather and other dangers. When Pepper sees Jack, the horse gets excited. Jack smiles when the horse gets all worked up. First, Jack gives Pepper hay to eat. While Pepper eats, Jack cleans Pepper's stall. He shovels out the dirty hay and sawdust. Then he puts down fresh padding. Pepper stomps his hoof and nods his head when he sees Jack. Next, Jack strokes Pepper's brown coat and it feels smooth. Then Jack leaves to go to school. But his work is not done. At 3:00 p.m., Jack rides the bus back home. He has a snack and does his homework. Next, his mother gives him an apple for Pepper. Then they go to visit Pepper. Jack feeds Pepper hay and fresh water every day. Jack and his mom find Pepper in a field. Pepper is allowed to roam. He can walk all around the field. He was drinking after having wandered the field. All that walking here and there made Pepper thirsty. Now it is time for Pepper's exercise. In the wild, horses run many hours a day, but Pepper does not live out in nature. Jack must make sure Pepper gets the exercise he needs. Pepper must have exercise each day. Jack puts the saddle on Pepper. He places the bit in Pepper's mouth. Mom does the same thing with her horse, and they ride horses together. When they are finished riding, Jack grooms Pepper. He brushes his mane, tail, and fur. Finally, Jack gives Pepper more hay and refills his water bucket. "See you in the morning," Jack says. Pepper nods his head as if to say, "Yes, I'll be waiting." Jack's dad checks for rocks in Pepper's hooves. If he sees one, he must get it out.
We're going to go into our comprehension skills and strategies. Now, our comprehension strategy, or one of the tools or tricks we're going to use to help us understand what we're reading, is to ask and answer questions about what we're reading. It'll help us get a better idea of what the author is trying to tell us. It also gives us a chance to really look at the information that's in front of us and decide what it is that we're reading about, what important parts there are to it, and any other bits of important information that we may find not just in the text, but also in the pictures.
Ask and answer questions. When you read, asking questions helps you think about parts of the story you may have missed or do not understand. Find text evidence. On page 71 of Taking Care of Pepper, I read that a horse has many needs. I ask myself, what things does a horse need? Every morning, Jack wakes up at 5:00 a.m. He and his father go to Pepper's stall. The stall keeps Pepper safe from bad weather and other dangers. When Pepper sees Jack, the horse gets excited. Jack smiles when the horse gets all worked up. First, Jack gives Pepper hay to eat. While Pepper eats, Jack cleans Pepper's stall. He shovels out the dirty hay and sawdust. Then he puts down fresh padding. I read that Jack feeds Pepper hay. I understand that Jack takes care of Pepper and gives him what he needs.
Okay, so by asking and answering questions, or asking questions and looking for those answers in the text, we're able to get a better understanding of what they need to do to take care of Pepper and what kind of needs a horse has.
Key details. You can find important details in the photos and text of a selection. Find text evidence. As I read the text and photo caption on page 72 of Taking Care of Pepper, I understand that Jack cares for Pepper. Pepper recognizes Jack and shows that he cares for him too. Graphic organizer. Detail. Jack takes care of Pepper. Jack and Pepper are excited to see each other.
All right, so that's one of the details that we have in the story. We're able to find additional details or more information that tells us about what we're reading and gives us a better understanding of what kind of message the author is trying to share with us. So we're going to talk about our genre. Now, we've already worked with some fiction pieces, and we've talked about narrative nonfiction, which is a nonfiction, so it's not a fake story. It's a real story that's told by the person it's happening to. So a narrative nonfiction, a simple example of narrative nonfiction is if your friend is telling you what they did over the summer or what they did over the weekend. That's a narrative nonfiction where they're the person that that all those things happen to. They're the person that the story is about, and it's a real thing.
Narrative nonfiction. The selection, Taking Care of Pepper, is a narrative nonfiction. A narrative nonfiction is about real people, things, or events, is told by a narrator, can have photos and captions. Find text evidence. I know that Taking Care of Pepper is a narrative nonfiction because it tells how a boy cares for a real horse. The photos and captions tell more about how to care for a horse. Text features. Photos are pictures. Captions are words that tell about a photo.
So these are some of the text features that we talked about earlier. When you have a photo or a diagram, it's a picture of sorts. A caption tells you more about it. Additional text features that you will see a lot of times are bold-faced words or highlighted words like you see over here in this small image of the page. And those also help to draw your attention towards important things that the author wants you to know about. Now, we also talked a little bit about root words and endings.
Root words. To understand the meaning of a word you do not know, try to break up the word into word parts. You can split the root word from the ending, such as ed, es, or ing. Find text evidence. As I read the word finished, I can break out the root word finish, which means to come to an end, from the ending ed, which can mean happened in the past. I think the word finished means came to an end. When they are finished riding, Jack grooms Pepper.
So using what you know about root words, try to figure out what the root word and the ending are in the word brushes and in the word waiting. Now we're going to talk about different parts of the text that you're going to see come across in some of the questions you're going to have in your packets. So this is going to touch a little bit on the grammar that you're going to see in your grammar packet as well.
Write about the text. I answered the question, in your opinion, is taking care of a horse easy or hard? Explain why using examples from the text. I think taking care of a horse is hard. The text tells me that Jack feeds Pepper hay at 5 in the morning. Then, Jack has to clean out the stall with a shovel. Next, he feeds Pepper and gives the horse water. That all happens before school begins. Jack rides Pepper every afternoon. I think that part would be fun and easy, but after riding, Jack has to brush and feed Pepper. I think people who care for horses are busy. Grammar. The predicate in this sentence tells what Jack does. Word choice. I used a linking word to show my opinion on caring for a horse.
Now remember when we talked about predicates, the predicate tells you what the subject is or does. So Jack rides Pepper every afternoon. So Jack is going to be my subject. What Jack does or is going to be my predicate. Now we talked about linking words and we used the word, I think that part would be fun and easy, comma, but after writing, Jack has to brush and feed Pepper. So these are two ideas that we're putting together or we're linking together using a linking word so that we can make a longer sentence. So that takes you to the end of our notes for this week, second grade. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Make sure you're doing your assignments completely, that you are doing them neatly and correctly, that your name and date are at the top of each page. And please make sure you're turning everything on time. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.